Time for us to check in with Chris Dimakos, our CJAD 800 legal contributor, on a couple of stories in the news today. Starting with this, I'd never heard of this, Chris. Ikea is hiring human being people to work in their virtual store on a gaming platform. They'll be paid like in-store employees, but basically it's the computer avatar that they represent that's going to be the employee. What's this about and how legal is this?
Yeah, just so for people who haven't heard this before, so basically they're doing interviews for physical people to basically be able to manage a computer little avatar in a store on this Roblox platform where they get to talk to customers and serve the meatballs and show them couches and cabinets. That's their job, to act like a computer avatar and talk with people and meet with people. So it's not the first time it's been done, but it's definitely the first time it's getting this much notoriety. And we're seeing more and more jobs like this where people are in charge of this parallel universe, this digital universe, where they're controlling a completely digital person to act as themselves. So what we're going to see, though, is the employment laws don't usually address that type of employment, right? So all the things that we talk about with workplace environment and communications with your superiors and performance and all that kind of stuff, well, now there's two different people that are at the helm here. There's a person that's controlling them from home, and then there's the actual avatar itself. So it's interesting to see where this is going to go, but it's only a matter of time before we see someone file a complaint based on the workplace conditions where the avatar was, or what was told to the avatar, or what they perceived about the avatar, or made a comment about the avatar. It's only a matter of time till that this gets tested in the courts and to see how it works out. But there's no question that the law definitely has not seen this and has not had case law to be able to put the parameters up on what's legal and what's not legal. We're definitely pushing the boundaries here.
I'm trying to understand. This is not AI. This is not artificial intelligence. This is a human being working from home, represented by an avatar on a screen, helping another live person navigate whatever it is they need at Ikea.
Right.
Is that it?
That's exactly it. So instead of somebody going to Ikea, off of Kodlias, instead of going there, you can just jump on your computer and then you act as a person, and you're talking to another live person who also has control of this avatar. And you look at product, and you can actually buy stuff and have it mailed to your house, but you just physically are not seeing or talking to anybody. You're talking them through the computer.
So my first question then would be, and we'll move on, is this a way for Ikea to cut down on having to hire staff and provide benefits? Is that the approach here?
I'm not sure if they're trying to get some buzz, some news out there. But if that's the case, if this trend continues, well, there's obviously going to be a lot less for them to manage in terms of having physical employees at the store, paying for the store, paying for the employees to be at the store, and all of the different workplace conditions and employment standards that have to be respected. If you have something that's digital where everyone's from home, it definitely will save them a tremendous amount of money if this trend continues.
Maybe you could open a division within your law firm for avatar employees. This could be the next trend, Chris. I'm just saying.
It could be.
Okay, let me move on from that. Speaking of remote workers, and that's in essence what this is, you've come up with a new study that shows remote workers are more likely to be laid off or miss out on promotion than people who go into the office. This debate's not going away. This who gets to stay home, who doesn't, and the argument over who's more effective or efficient is not going away either. But it seems employers here are saying, you know what, in whatever way they're trying to do this, we want you to come back to the office.
Right, and also, just to add to that story, I know Dell Computers, there was an internal memo that basically went out that said remote workers are not to be promoted. Don't offer them any promotions. We don't want them to be promoted. We want to discourage people from remote work. And what's happening now is it used to be the narrative was, are they efficient or are they not efficient? Now what we're starting to see is that our companies equipped to monitor remote work. And the answer, what we're seeing now, is they're not able to. And when that became evident to them, they want everyone to come back. They don't want remote work anymore. Just come back to the office. Let's do things like we did things before COVID. And we're equipped for that. We know that. It's something that's very familiar to us. And this remote work has been, for many companies, a failure. And not just because some employees take advantage of that and time theft. It's mostly because they're not equipped to monitor and ensure efficiency. But what we're seeing now, when push comes to shove, when struggle happens and the employer wants and forces the employee back, for the most part, if the original contract was an in-person, at the office job, employers have the right to call you back. But what we're seeing now with the courts is that if you hired somebody on remote work during that craze where everyone was jumping ship and taking higher salaries, if you hired someone on remote work, unless you offer them a new type of consideration, whether it be more money, more benefits, something to change that remote work hiring, then you cannot force them back to the office. So it all depends on what your original contract was, and many of these employers are stuck with all of these hires that they made during this COVID craze. And now, if they fire them, well, then they're going to deal with the consequences because they don't have just cause, and they can't force them to come back unless they offer them, a new type of compensation, something that is considered new consideration. Otherwise, it can be construed as constructive dismissal.
Wow.
or an illegal firing. So it's a difficult thing. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think for anything, hybrid seems to be the most popular option now. I think employers are realizing that there are some benefits to having employees work from home for at least 2 or 3 days a week, and it looks like that model is going to be the one that's going to do the best from what people are saying. The hybrid model, you work 3 days a week and you take 2 days from home. That seems to be the one where most people are happiest, and companies are able to keep controls and deal with the 2 days of remote work. So that's what's winning the war right now. It's the hybrid, but still have a lot of issues to deal with from this remote work hiring craze.
So to that end, though, let me ask you, so dealing with this situation, are you starting to? I mean, is this one of those things where people come to you and say, hey, wait a sec, I got offered this job this way, being able to work from home. Now my employer is changing the rules. What do you tell employees who find themselves in a situation like this?
Yeah, the first thing you have to figure out is your original contract. That's the most important. Under what conditions were you hired? And then the law is very clear about what can and cannot be done based on your original contract. A recent case, a very important one, where a banker was hired with a nice big contract, and then a couple of months in, the employer said, not as good as we thought, we're going to change your terms of your contract. And they forced him to take a lesser salary after 3 or 4 months. And the court said, hey, listen, unfortunately, you can't do that. You cannot just change someone's contract without giving them some sort of consideration, whether it's compensation or any other benefit. So there has to be an exchange there if you're going to change someone's contract. So in the case of a remote work, if you started off as a remote worker and your employer wants to change that, they have to offer you some sort of consideration that you can agree to and say, okay, fine, I'll come into work. At least I'm getting this type of bonus. I'm getting a car allowance. I'm getting whatever it is. But if it starts off as remote, you have the right to continue to be employed as a remote worker unless parties agree to something otherwise.
All right. So in other words, don't accept whatever this so often comes up, right? This is,
Right.
It seems to me as you're describing it, this is open for negotiation.
It's absolutely open for negotiation, and the employer is very well aware of what they can and cannot do. Don't kid yourself. They have been informed before they sat down at the table with you. So if that happens, the number one rule is listen to what the employer has to say. We'll get out of that meeting without saying or agreeing to anything. You say, I'm going to review and I'm going to consider what happened here today. I'm going to digest that information and I'll get back to you. And then you have to get informed, because if you're not, if there's a disparity in who has more information, it's usually the one who knows less that does poorly. So you have to equal the playing field, get informed, take a look at what's happening there, and then you can go back and negotiate this thing properly.
All right. Chris, as always, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, Aaron.